Thank you very much for waiting. We would now like to resume the JIRCAS International Symposium and move on to the panel discussion. Dr. Keiichi Hayashi is the moderator of this session, and we have 8 panelists today on the stage. From your left, Dr. Kitajima, Dr. Devi, Dr. Shukuri, Dr. Miyamoto, Dr. Samejima, Dr. Kosugi, and Dr. Tani. Also, Dr. Muhammad Naeem is participating remotely. And now I would like to pass on to the panel chair, Dr. Hayashi.
Good afternoon. Once again, my name is Hayashi Keiichi, Program Director of Environment in JIRCAS. And it is my pleasure to moderate this session for next half an hour. And then we had 2 keynote speeches and then 3 presentations in each session to understand current issue on how to realize coexistence of robust tropical forest and sustainable industry. To begin with this panel session, I'd like to ask some questions to the panelists. So firstly to Prof. Kitajima. The conservation of and sustainable use of forests with their multiple functions remains important issues in the forest industry. In the academic context, some article pointed out that afforestation, which focuses on GHG sequestration in forests, is biased towards species with high commercial and carbon credit value. Against this backdrop of this global debate, could you once again share your views on the approach that should be taken to halt the decline in forest area and maintain the ecological functions of the forest?
Thank you for the question. I think the key is to understand resilience in proper term, and the way to manage, forests recover. We all agree, those of us here. Ultimately, trees can be grown again. At the same time, we need to realize there is no one solution. I think this is something Sonia said, no one solution fits. You really need to think about the landscape context and think about the best. I think I totally agree what the other panelists said. We need to have, forest itself needs to keep its value, whether it's biodiversity or timber production or providing resources to local people. So how do we actually maximize these multiple functions of forest? But people are ingenious, and so we really need to think about how do we actually have a proper governance. So, and the answer can be different. I was very pleased to see, for example, enrichment planting in Indonesia have been producing some, successful regeneration of high-value timber. So I think we really need to be thinking solutions together. And so there's no one right answer, but resilience means not necessarily resisting changes. From change and impact and disturbance, what do we want to recreate, and then what is the best answer may change as the environment change, climate change, and our societies change. Thank you.
Thanks so much for your view against the global debate. And taking off from view of Prof. Kitajima, I have some questions to Dr. Shukri and then Dr. Miyamoto. Firstly, to Dr. Shukri, in Malaysia, each state has established its own timber legality assurance system for forest management. Could you please explain the impact of these state laws and the role of research institutes such as FRIM?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I said just now, there are a little bit differences between each states in order to manage the forest. But we are bound with the same basis, system, sustainable forest management. Of course, the system based on analysis and based on some projection. And the enactment and the procedure within the state is not much different, but slightly different. I don't see any impact, any bigger impact, because all the state leaders in Malaysia sat in the one council. They call it National Land Council. So everything agreed in the National Land Council must be followed by the states government. Okay. In terms of frame research, we did a lot of research actually in terms of sustainable forest management. For example, research on the optimum cutting cycle. As I said just now, the optimum cutting cycles, the cutting cycles for Peninsula Malaysia is 30 years. But we see that a little bit problem to achieve that 30 years cycle. The research says that maybe 45 or 60 years is the optimum, not 30. 30 is so short. Okay. Other than that, research on the silviculture and management. Even myself lead one of the expert group to we call it modified SMS, selective management system. Currently, we apply a selective management system since 1978. Almost more than 40 years. So now we have to relook the system. So we have so many experts in this group and suggest to the policymaker what is the best system now. For example, we have to do retooling. For the long time, we still use a bulldozer, which is for us is very damaging. So we have to change the system. Probably we call it a log fisher, probably. So this is one of the methods we propose for the new coming system. And also FRIM also involved in the expert committee in joining all the three policy between Peninsula Malaysia, Sabah and Sarawak. And now we have a Malaysian policy on forestry. No more three different policy, three region, but only one policy for that three region. That's I think is a new thing for Malaysia to support forestry, sustainable forest management. Thank you.
Thanks so much for sharing the knowledge and the importance of the role of FRIM to implement and sustain the state laws. So now the question goes to Dr. Miyamoto. In your presentation, you talk about the relationship between poverty and the deforestation. You mentioned that poverty reduction measures are highly effective in reducing deforestation and that these measures are highly sustainable. In many developing countries with tropical forests, long-term policy implementation is needed to effectively put poverty reduction measures into practice. Could you please share your insights on the role of that Japan and international research institutions should play in this context?
日本語で、返答させていただきます。今回私の方から森林減少の解決策として貧困削減策を提案してその方向性を示しました。これを実際に途上国で実施するためにはもっと具体的にどういう対策がその国の貧困削減に有効なのかということを明らかにする必要があります。科学的根拠を持って有効な対策が明らかになればその政府や関係団体も自信を持ってそれを進めることができます。ですので国の研究機関や国際研究機関は そういう研究をリードしていっていただきたいというふうに思っています。例えばそういう研究というのは世界の中で貧困削減に成功した国の調査研究とか、あとその貧困削減に有効な貧困削減した国とそうでない国を比較研究するというのがなどが挙げられると思います。でこういう研究において重要なのは、まず第一に長期間の信頼できるデータを集める。でこれがもう研究においてはもう第一番目の重要なことで、貧困に対する影響っていうのは短期で見るのではなくて、やっぱり長期で見る必要があります。で次に対象とする国でそういう長期の信頼できるデータを集めるには、相手国の研究者の協力がどうしても必要です。さらに現地調査やデータ解析などの研究手法が適切であるということも科学的根拠を示すために重要になります。なのでその点でですね、国の研究機関とか国際研究機関は比較的十分な予算があって研究に集中できる環境もあります。そしてさらに国を超えた共同研究をする環境が整っています。また先行研究、これまで世界でどういう研究をされていたかの文献調査をするのも十分にできる環境に恵まれています。ですのでこれらの研究機関には途上国の貧困削減に有効な対策を科学的に明らかにする研究をぜひリーダーシップを発揮していただきたいと考えています。以上です。
Thank you so much for Dr. Miyamoto for your thoughts about the role of Japan and the International Research Institute. So I would also like to look at current forest-related issues from forest industry point of view, and then I would like to hear from Dr. Devi. According to FAO statistics, global demand for timber has increased significantly, and is expected to continue to increase in the future. While various efforts are being made around the world to halt the decline in forest area and preserve the ecological functions of forests, the supply of timber to the market is also increasing, making the sustainable development of forests is increasingly important. In timber-producing and consuming countries, the introduction of forest certification and due diligence is helping to curb illegal logging. In addition, ESG investment in forests have recently attracted attention. While these global trends promote the sustainable development of forests, it is also risking the development of monocultures in the forest industry. Could you please explain what international organizations such as C4 ICRAF are doing to address these issues?
Thank you very much for the good question. It's very difficult to answer. So basically, C4 ICRAF look at the timber sustainability issue through a systemic lens, looking at the green value chain at a multiple level. So we do many different things, but at least I would like to highlight three things. One is on policy analysis, the second one is on the governance, and the third one is about smallholder capacity strengthening, as Dr. Samejima mentioned, that it's growing importance of regarding smallholder. So the first one, the kind of the example of things that we did is like looking at the analysis, comparing the FSC, which is the widely used certification for timber, with EUDR, for example, because there are differences in terms of cut-off date. FSC cut-off date is 1994, while EUDR is 2020, meaning that timber that cannot be certified by FSC can still be accepted under EUDR. So we are now looking at remedy framework, like for example, restoration, so that this gap can be filled. Secondly, regarding governance, actually, there are a lot of areas that has been given as a concession to production forests in Indonesia. I think it's in total is 11 million hectares, but only 3 million hectares have been planted and managed sustainably. So in terms of meeting the demands that is increasing, these sort of things can be addressed, and why actually there are this big gap, why there are 8 million hectares that cannot be planted or managed sustainably. It's because of the conflict with IPLC that is in the surrounding area. So governance is very important in terms of really also giving some access to local community to manage as well, to reduce the conflict. And also partnership, of course, is very important. Partnership between smallholder and the companies as well. And then on this, social forestry has been a big vehicle. And within that, agroforestry is being seen as the most potential measure. So this also addressing the issue about monoculture in the big forest plantation, I think. And on top of that, I think another thing that we have done or we are doing is the timber supply is not only coming from forests. When we talk about timber, it's only forest that we think. So now, especially in the dry part of the tropical world, we are now working on trees outside forests. So in India, for example, we target huge, ambitious areas and tree planting, including for timber. So not only for timber, but including timber. So all these options, I think we can explore and depending on which context, then what option will be suitable. So I think in answering your question, I think we can actually be optimistically addressing those issues in the future if governance is improved, if policy is developed in a way that is really suiting the context. And the third one, if the smallholder producer is raised in terms of their capacity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your thoughts in terms of the role of CIFOR and ICRAF for government and policy and the smallholders functioning in line with forest industry. So now, taking off from the thought and the view from Dr. Dewi, I have some questions to Prof. Naim and then Dr. Samejima. Prof. Naim, are you online? We cannot hear you. Please unmute.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Okay. So
yes.
I have some questions to you. Indonesia is one of the world's leading timber producers and exporters. And while through forest certification programs ensure that timber is produced with minimal environmental impact, the country continues to face challenges related to sustainable industry, such as illegal logging and negative environmental impacts. What do you think are the root causes of these problems, and what initiatives are needed to address them?
Yes, thank you for your good question. Right now, Indonesia has taken a strategic step to combat illegal logging, reduce deforestation and also degradation of tropical forests through at least two approaches. One is law enforcement, and the other is signing the Paris Agreement, as well as the development of Indonesia Volunteering 2030. This volunteering is a strategic plan to reduce emission in Indonesia. On the other hand, a fundamental issue of unsustainable tropical forest management is actually low productivity of natural tropical forests in second generation. As I mentioned in the schedule that growth rate is only average 0.2 to 0.6. But by intensive silviculture approach, we also doing species trial of 30 species diptercat. We have a good result. At least we found 5 fast-growing varieties: Sorea leprosula, Sorea parvifolia, Sorea jorensis, Sorea platycladus, and Sorea macrophylla that have very good growth rate, and it then be used for enrichment planting. So right now we have many concession holders, many forest company that work with us, especially, for example, in company Sari Bumi Kusuma company in Central Kalimantan. Now this company already has 50,000 hectares of line planting or gap planting method. So I think based on that result, intensive silviculture actually can enhance the productivity of natural forest, preserve native species from extinction, and efficiently sequestration significant amount of carbon tropical rainforest. That's my answer. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, Prof. Naim, for your information of what Indonesia is doing to tackle with the causes for the problem. So, so now I would like to ask questions to Dr. Samejima. Forest certification plays an important role in the sustainability of timber production, and there seems to be an opportunity to introduce due diligence on deforestation in addition to deforestation. In addition to the legality of harvest. Do you think this will promote the prevention of forest functionality?
Hello. Thank you very much. Yes, in general, since legality required by means compliance of law in produce countries. In case the law of produce company allows the land conversion of forest, for example, oil palm plantation, the requirement of timber legality itself is not enough to conserve forest. But so forest certification, requirement for forest certification can guarantee the maintaining the forest. However, as already mentioned in my presentation, also by Ibu Sonia, sometimes supply chain promotion certified product with clear traceability can have a risk to exclude smallholders or undermine the local government control or trial of judicial approach. So we need to consider what efforts have been made in the sourcing region. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Samejima, for your comments. And once again, to all panelists, thank you so much for your thoughts and the valuable comments, which will stimulate us for more discussion. So I think I better open the question from the floor. So we still have a time, and then please, I will take some questions from floor, and then so please let us know who you are And to which panelist your question goes, if you have questions.
森林総合研究所の東間と申します。小杉さんに質問なんですけれども、アブラヤシの幹の利用、かなり以前から、いろんな取り組みをされてきて、でいろんな、試作品的なものは何度も見てきたんですけれども、なかなか産業化できていなかったというのが、これまで私が見てきた印象だったんです。で今回のお話ではですね、もうマーケットベースのテストプラントができて動いているということで、今後、今やられているのが成功事例となって、マレーシアの他の地域であるとか、サラワク、ごめんなさい、インドネシアであるとかにも展開できていけるような見込みがあると、期待してもよろしいんでしょうか。
Thank you for your question, but so I can speak the Japanese, okay? そうですね、そうですね、期待していいと思います。この研究をもう15、16年、下手すると18年ぐらい、行ってますけれども、その時、時々でですね、かなり背景が違うのはもうお分かりだと思います。今の背景と、5年前、10年前の背景っていうのは全く違ってると思います。そこじゃないかなというふうに思ってます。なのでポイントは、継続っていうのは結構大切なんだなっていうふうに私は感じています。
Thank you for the question and the answer. So is there any other questions from the floor? Yes, please.
Thank you, all the presenters. I'm Tsujimoto from JIRCAS. As an agronomist, I feel like I'm kind of out of the league from the topic of this symposium, but I was happy to hear in Dr. Miyamoto's presentation that provision of profitable agricultural land and technologies can be one key to reduce the poverty and then stop deforestation. And then personally, I'd like to believe in that story, and many of the presentations supported that story. But if I'm allowed to play a kind of devil's advocate, that kind of profitable agricultural technology can be a factor increasing the agricultural rent, if I borrow your word and the Tunnel's model, that motivate farmers to explore more lands for using those agricultural technologies and explore more profits. And a paper that I recently read was a case of the Congo, and then the paper indicates that the provision of improved seeds of corn, maize, actually accelerated the primary forest loss because farmers seeked for fertile soils under the primary forest. So agricultural, I believe that improvement of agricultural technology is important, but sometimes human beings are very greedy and unstoppable. So my question is what is the key not to let agricultural technologies to go into that kind of negative end in the forest management? How we can harmonize the improved agriculture management practices and the forest management. So maybe my question is directing to Dr. Miyamoto, but I would like to hear of the view of the keynote speakers in this kind of harmonization, how to manage both agricultural improvement and forest management.
Thank you so much for your question. And so firstly, Dr. Miyamoto, answer from Dr. Miyamoto, and followed by the answer from or comments from our keynote speakers.
ご質問ありがとうございます。非常に重要な質問で、農業を収益性良くすると、土地がそっちの方ばっかり、農業にばっかり使われて森林なくなっていくんじゃないかという心配っていうのは結構そういう声もあって、収益性を上げた方がいいのか悪いのかっていう議論は結構されてたんですけれども、多くの実証研究の結果から収益性を上げた方が農地転換の面積はなんていうんですかね、最初はもちろん最初は上がる森林がどんどん農地に変わるんですよ。一時だから森林がどんどん減って農地に変わっていくんですけど、収益性を高い農地を提供していくと、それがね早く止まるんです。だからマレーシアなんか、半島マレーシアなんかこういって80年代貧困率が 20% 下がった時から森林減少がほぼ止まっていくんですよ。これがインドネシアの調査値とかだと収益性が低いので、農民は森林を農地に変える以外の貧困を超える貧困を克服するための方策がないんですね、農民にとって。政府の補助もなかったので、なので収益性が低いとどんどんなんていうんですかね、ずっと森林を農地に転換するというのがずっと続いて、これがもうずっと続いていくっていう感じが現状なんですね。だからそういう実証研究が結構されてて、今の体制は収益性を上げた高収益な農業にすることが貧困削減につながり、森林減少につながっていくっていう方向性が傾向性がちゃんと実証されてきています。はい、ありがとうございます。
Okay, so next our keynote speaker, Prof. Kitajima. Yes.
Thank you for excellent question. We all have to eat, so we have to have cropland. I think it's not just the profitability of land. Two things must be considered. One is the sustainability of existing food producing land. If they become degraded, people look for additional land. So yes, it's important to have good, efficient, and productive system, but it has to be sustainable. It's talked, when we talk about nature positive production landscape and nature positive production, we really need to be thinking about not to let soil degrade. So I think the new technology must be sustainable in terms. That's the key. Two, governance is important. Forested land are ultimate commons that are controlled by governments, whether it's national level or local or regional governments. So if we have no rules, then there is no stopping of forests being converted. So governance is a key. And so when I talked about the example of how Japan actually recovered forests, I did recover forest during Edo era, it was governance. And I think currently oil palm moratorium is going, but it's not effective to regulate smallholder farmers in Indonesia from cutting trees to start producing oil palm. So how do we actually deal with governance? I think it's actually perhaps the most important thing. Yes, we need to have poverty reduction. We need to make use of agricultural technology, and we have to increase the crop yield per unit area of existing agricultural land. But how do we actually govern the ultimate common forest and grasslands that are not currently under managed land? Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, Dr. Devi.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is a very valid question. We have seen also a lot of examples that it happens in Indonesia, like, when one particular land uses or agricultural practice is very profitable, then not only the local people, other people coming from far away grab the land and encroach the forest. So I agree with Professor Kitajima that, governance policy is very important. Policy, I mean, is very effective policy that can really be implemented. Yeah, sometimes policy is there, but the government doesn't really understand or anticipate what it entails. Yeah, so policy can be good, can also be bad. Like, for example, just to give you an example, when there was forest fire in 2015, huge forest and land fire because of El Nino, and huge area of peat was burned, was on fire, and then the government really stopped and banned the use of fire for land clearing, while actually fire is the most efficient, the cheapest way to prepare land. And when the government blocked that, and with the severe punishment, the farmers couldn't do that, and they don't do that. But I see myself in the field. What happened is they start going back to the national park close by and do the illegal logging. So unless these options, sustainable options for agriculture is there, policy cannot be really implemented. Policy can be there, it's well-intentioned, but cannot be implemented. But I think, economic only is not enough. Profit only is not enough. We need to understand the political economy and also, generating good governance in terms of implementing effective policy. Maybe that.
Thank you, and thank you for your excellent and interesting questions. To our expert talk more. Thank you so much for your comments, panelists. So, other questions from the floor?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Nina? Yeah, thank you very much. Related to the, plantation, doing plantation between crops and tree, I have an experience in Indonesia. Actually, if we make plants, we make, make plantation, that's we have to use wider distance among forestry. For example, in Indonesia, I have what we call it selected tree. I planted 6 by 8 or 10 by 5. That means in 1 hectare, the number of trees is around 150 to 200 trees. And between there, we can plant crops, any kind of crops, included kayu wood, for example. So after harvesting, about 15 or 20 years, we will got the wood. Thick wood is, nice performance because it is selected tree, come from cutting material. But annually we can also harvest many kind of crops. And an additional, the kind of crop can also be selected. We only use the best one. For example, if paddy rice, for example, we use the variety of Situ Patinggang that's grew very well, and also the taste is like Japanese rice. Yeah, that's I think I'm agree with Ibu Sonia and Ibu Kitajima that the policy of government is very important. Like as mentioned by Ibu Sonia, that we have 12 million hectare of timber estate area, but only 3 million that already managed. I think it is quite bad, and I hope the government can also see what happened in the field. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Naim, for your comments based on your experience in Indonesia. So one question from the floor, I think.
Thank you. My name is Mitsugi from FAOs. I think that there's many audience in person Japanese. I'm trying to speak in Japanese. ありがとうございます。まず最初に今日のような素敵な会合を設定していただくことも感謝したいと思います。私の方からは一つコメントとそれから一つ質問をさせていただきたいと思います。まずコメントです。先ほどの質問された方もおっしゃってましたが、多分その森林コミュニティ以外のところでのアプローチというのは非常に多分大事なんだと思います。これから。で特に今日お話の出ていた農業との関係においても今後の期待としてできればフォレストリーコミュニティ以外の方々も交えたような横断的なセッションがあるとより深まりが出るものだというふうに考えております。私自身も土地転換の問題を非常に強く関心を持ってまして、この点森林セクターだけではなかなか達成できないところですので、ぜひそのようなことを今後検討していただけるとありがたいと思います。で2つ目質問ですけれども、どなたというよりもどなたかにぜひ新興の方に指示していただければありがたいんですが、なかなか今森林破壊を止めるのに非常に苦労している現状があって、SDG のターゲットも結構達成が厳しいという見方をしているのは皆さんご存知だと思います。でこういう状況下において、よくトランスフォーメーションの言葉は昨今言われてますが、この森林破壊を止めるトランスフォーメーションがもしあるとしたら、それはどういう切り口なのか、ちょっとその点について皆さんの、なんでしょう、あまりロジカルでなくても結構ですけれども、こういうものがあるんじゃないかということがありましたら、ぜひ教えていただきたいと思います。ありがとうございます。
どうもありがとうございました。Thank you so much for your question and then comments. So our panelists to the for the response to this comment questions. So probably close to I think Prof. Kitajima first. Some comments response to this question. Is that okay?
It's a very difficult. There is no one single transformation that can affect. But I am glad you started, Mitsugi-san, you started your question from saying that in order to solve sustainable forest management, we need to see the whole package. I think Miyamoto-san talked about poverty reduction. Sonia talked about the legal systems. And but I think actually I like what you suggested, that we need to be talking, crossing the sectors within so-called AFOLU, agriculture, forestry, and other land uses, because I think we have different emphasis in education, and we don't necessarily understand like what trees to plant where, what is the best species. I think even within those of us working in forestry, our knowledge is often limited. We really need to be sharing more information, and I think basic science and problem-solving skills are so important. Need to see not just what we learn from a textbook, but see the situation and think adaptively. Sometimes local people have the answer. Some of the traditional ecological knowledge have very good scientific, reasoning. Others don't. But how do we actually see and find solution? Transformations perhaps don't come in just one magic bullet. So how do we actually have good, solid scientific foundation so that we actually see what is the best local solution? And that is very important to keep in mind, that I think the best solution comes from scientists and next generation of managers, government employees who actually understand that there is no one magic bullet. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment. Dr. Dewi. Sure, yeah, please. Make it a little short.
Yeah, I thought I was expected to. Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for the question. It's a very big question, but to me, in terms of transforming that system, the whole system, I think one single thing that I think could push us through is, going into our mindset, the common but differentiated responsibility. So this is really between the global north and global south. Global south keeps on pushing, producing because the consumers or the market is demanding more and more. Yeah. So and vice versa. So I think among the SDG, this sustainable production to consumption is very important, and it can start from ourselves. Yeah. And the young generation actually is very good in taking up. There are many more now changing their lifestyle. They become vegetarian. I think the percentage of young people becomes vegetarian is much bigger than in the older generation. And sustainable clothing, things like that. They are very savvy about that. So I think from our own, if we cannot transform the whole world, at least we can transform. We can start it from ourselves first. And I think changing lifestyle, being more, wiser in terms of this production to consumption things, I think, and be mindful about we have all common responsibility to the planet and to the people, but it should be differentiated, yeah, between the global south, global north, and wherever we are in the society. Maybe that. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Yeah, seems more to discuss, and I thought we have enough time to discuss, but I think our time has come, and then we have to wrap up this session. So once again, thanks so much for.
すいません、最後一人質問させていただいてもよろしいですか。
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask my question. My name is Mahmoud Akhtar. I'm an agricultural economist from Bangladesh, and now I'm doing my PhD at Rishu University. Today I am here and I have known a lot of information about the sustainable development and forestry. And I'm particularly interested in Mr. Kosugi Akihiko for the oil palm trunk high value technology for tropical forest conservation. As I think we have seen the production of oil palm trunk into pellets through a process that can produce byproducts like artificial woods, and that is, I think, in Malaysia for and it is going on a project. My question is, what is the economic value of this process? Because this seems a little bit complicated as a agricultural process to have a byproduct, a very small byproduct of woods, because there are also sap and other products from the oil palm trunks, but it seems that it cannot be inclusive for small or medium entrepreneurs to invest in this kind of businesses. So my question is, how can we include small and medium entrepreneurs into this kind of sustainable value product businesses for afforestation or reforestation in the ethnic groups? Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Kosugi.
Thank you for your question. I think it depends on the demand. So actually, our produced pellet EDS, not cheap. I mean, so yeah, high valued. Otherwise, it's depend on the price to sell from the our producers. But now, situation is, I already told someone situation is a change. Yeah, environmental protection has certain values. That's why, I think that yeah, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, quite changed the situation. So actually, at that time, economic motivation is very high priorities. But now, not only the motivation, but also environmental motivation and society's motivation is necessary to the make the realize the this societies. That's why I actually I'm not I don't know so this business we're going to do in the futures or not, but I think I can say the it's situation is changed. Then also it's actually demand. I mean it depend on the demand. That's my answer to you.
Thank you so much for the answer to the question from Dr. Kosugi. So now this session has come to the end, and then let me summarize this session. So among the multiple functions of forest, the GHG absorption function is crucial to mitigate the climate crisis, and it has become clear that the introduction of certification systems and due diligence measures is essential to strengthen this function. On the other hand, we also found that prioritizing tree species with high commercial and carbon credit value puts other vital forest functions at risk and prevents the realization of sustainable use. We also found that poverty alleviation efforts are also important in preventing forest area reduction. Thus, we gain a deeper appreciation for the importance of collaborative efforts between companies and governments to conserve and sustainable use of forests, as well as the importance of providing scientific evidence for production sites and certification systems. In order to strengthen tropical forests, it's necessary to understand the physiological characteristics and the environmental adaptability of individual tree species, improve breeding and silvicultural techniques, and develop circular resource management strategies within the landscape to support a sustainable industry. The combination of these research results will generate innovation and enable governments and companies to respond flexibly and appropriately to the dynamic environmental and the social context surrounding tropical forest. So to all panelists and everyone in this venue, thank you once again for your cooperation and active participation to make this session fruitful and meaningful. Let us give a round of warm applause to all of you.
I would like to thank the panelists and the panel chair, Dr. Hayashi, for a very insightful discussion. Now please return to your seat. Thank you. And now please give us a moment to set the stage for the closing remarks. Now it is almost time to close this year's JIRCAS International Symposium. Dr. Yukiyo Yamamoto, Vice President of JIRCAS, will make some closing remarks. Dr. Yamamoto, please come up to the stage.
On behalf of the organizers, it is a great pleasure for me to make a few closing remarks at the end of this symposium. The JIRCAS International Symposium is held annually to provide forum for discussion and exchange experience on agriculture, forestry, and fisheries in developing regions. In the first symposium, we have addressed the themes such as the United Nations designated international years, national and international issues, international research cooperation, and so on. And this year, we focused on the tropical forest and the forest industry. In the keynote speeches, Professor Kaoru Kitajima of Kyoto University and Dr. Sonia Devi of C4 ICRAF provided us with the profound insights into the resilience and the sustainability of tropical forest and the related industries. In addition, prominent researchers shared their latest research findings in these areas. As we collectively acknowledge that the world population is projected to approach 10 billion by 2050, the imperative to develop technologies for a sustainable food system becomes more urgent. Looking at the global system as a whole, however, there is no doubt that the survival of human society will be threatened without the systems and technologies to properly and sustainably manage the tropical forest resources that covers the most of the Earth's land area. In order to achieve this, we must be aware of the issues related to the compatibility of tropical forest and the forest industry and use the systems and the technologies appropriately. It is my sincere hope that the symposium has not only facilitated the dialogues, but also provided valuable opportunities for sharing the essential information and knowledge in this regard. Finally, I'd like to extend the special thanks to the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, and the Forestry and the Forest Product Research Institute for their unwavering support in organizing this event. I would also like to express my appreciation to all the symposium participants, both on-site and online, as well as everyone involved in the planning and executing of this event. We were truly grateful for your valuable contribution and the participation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yamamoto. And this concludes the JIRCAS International Symposium 2023. We wish to thank all participants and viewers, and also to all the speakers for their wonderful presentations. As you leave, please make sure to return your name tag and simultaneous interpretation receiver at the reception desk. And also please make sure that you have all your belongings with you. I hope you have a pleasant evening ahead. Thank you very much.